What's up, everybody? My name is Lindo and welcome back to my YouTube channel, man. I'm so excited to be back here again. I've got something that I want to share with you guys, and it's something that's very close to my heart, something that I have personal experience with, especially over the last 8 or 9 months. And I want to share this thing with you, hoping that it will help you as much as it has helped me, and that you will gain insight and understanding of what it is that you're dealing with. Today, I want to talk to you about the law of intentionality. Growth doesn't just happen, bro. Unfortunately, it takes effort, discipline, and intentionality in order for you to see the results that you want to see in your life. Now, you might ask yourself the question, how do I grow? What are the steps that I need to take in order for me to grow? What direction of growth should I even take? How do I even develop myself? How do I develop others? Hopefully today, I'll be able to answer at least one of those questions. There's a quote by James Allen that I really like. It says, "People are anxious to improve their circumstances, but unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound." Isn't it true that we tend to get so consumed by the circumstances that we deal with in our lives that we lose focus on the self-improvement that we need to do? And because we neglect that, we find ourselves in the same rut, in the same cycle of making the same mistake over and over again. I'm gonna be open and transparent with you guys as to how this quote applies to me. Over the last 9 months, when I haven't been posting my videos, what was really happening in my life was I had a set of circumstances that were consuming me so much that I've been trying to fix those circumstances instead of focusing on my vision and my goals in order for me to develop myself to the point where I can overcome those circumstances with confidence and with ease. And as a result of me not focusing on my actual goals, I found myself in the same rut over 9 months, bro. Though I may not be perfect, however, I have clear vision as to what it is that I need to do in order for me to maintain my focus. Ever since I started putting all of my effort towards my personal growth, towards my dreams, my goals, and my aspirations, my outlook on the circumstances that I was dealing with started to change. I started to see things a lot more differently. I started to see those circumstances for what they really are. And the more I continued to grow, then I was able to attack one of these circumstances one at a time. Now I'm gonna show you some of the things that I learned to understand throughout this process between knowing my circumstances and what I am dealing with and what I need to do in order for me to counter that. The greatest gap in the world is the space between knowing and doing. And that's exactly what we're gonna focus on. And I hope that you will be able to identify yourself within those 4 different types of gaps. Let's get into it. The first type of gap that I want us to deal with on this video is the assumption gap. It's so easy for us to assume that things are the way that they are just because they look like that on the surface level, when really they aren't. There's always levels underneath that. And it takes a certain type of individual who is intentional about their growth to be able to evaluate those different levels and find themselves in a position that they can solve that problem. Most people accept their lives instead of leading their lives. That's what I found myself doing over the last 9 months, is that life threw so many jabs at me that I found myself just accepting it for what it is and said, you know what, it is what it is. I'm just gonna keep taking it as it comes. But that was the wrong approach. And once I started changing that mindset, once I started changing that outlook and said, you know what, I'm gonna lead my life. Despite these circumstances, I'm gonna take intentional steps towards the goals that I wanted to achieve. And so I'm encouraging you, if you find yourself in that assumption gap where you just assume that it is what it is, no, you have to take charge and lead yourself out of those circumstances instead of hoping that those circumstances will just magically change by some miracle so that you can find yourself in a better position. No, you need to take the action. You need to take the necessary steps. If you find yourself in that same assumption gap, bro, I'm telling you now, those circumstances will never change until you change. Until you start to take intentional steps towards leading your life. Set a trajectory, set a specific target that you're working towards, irregardless of the circumstances. Develop yourself in that route and you will see those circumstances will start to line up accordingly. The second type of gap that we find ourselves in between knowing and doing is the knowledge gap. A lot of people don't know how to grow. We need to have a personal development plan in order for us to grow. You don't just show up at the gym and decide right there and there what it is that you're going to do. It doesn't work that way. You need to have a plan. You need to have a regimen. You need to know exactly what it is that you're going to do on that specific day for those gym sets. I also had to have a plan as to how am I going to continue with my YouTube channel despite the circumstances that might stand in the way. And I had to decide, okay, what is the plan? When do I script? When do I shoot? When do I edit? And when do I post? I have a plan and I have a schedule that I can just apply. I know it's easier said than done, but I promise you, bro, if you make the process less complicated and simplify it and say, you know what it is that I'm supposed to do, I'm just gonna do it now. Don't delay till tomorrow. Don't delay it to the next hour. Just do it now. If there's something that's on your mind or on your notepad that you know that you're supposed to be doing, or it's even on your reminders on your phone, just do it now. The fourth type of gap between knowing and doing is the mistake gap. This one, we're all guilty of it. Because why? We're all human, man. We all make mistakes. The difference between all of us individuals when we make mistakes is that some people are able to bounce back from them and some don't. And I would understand why it's so difficult for you to bounce back from a mistake. It could be embarrassing or that it discourages you. And all those feelings are part of the human experience. However, you can't let mistakes be the end of your progress. You've got to overcome it and take it as part of the process. Failure is a part of every growth process. It's necessary in order for you to be able to see where you're at in the growth process. And once you identify it, you're able to correct and come back again a lot stronger, wiser, and more diligent. Let me ask you a question. What would you attempt to do if you knew you could never fail? There are certain things that you know you can do without even thinking about it. And you don't have the fear of failure when it comes to those things. However, in the areas that you're weak in, you're so sensitive to that failure. However, if you could just imagine for 1 second, if you were so good at that thing that you don't have to think twice about doing it, how would you do it? How would you go after it? Would you go after it with confidence? Of course you would. So have that kind of mindset when it comes to mistakes and say, you know what, I'm just going to attempt to do it as if I didn't fail the previous time. Now, before we wrap the video up, let me hit you with the bonus type of gap, and it's the inspiration gap. We all need inspiration. We all need motivation. It's the fuel that energizes us to do what we're supposed to do. However, the problem is with this fuel that it comes and goes, right? One moment you wake up with motivation, the next day you're demoralized, you don't even have the energy to do it. Emotions won't always stimulate you to take action, but the right actions will always stimulate the right emotions. You don't need the motivation. You don't need the inspiration in order for you to take action. Take action first, then you will feel the motivation and the inspiration to continue to grow and continue to move forward. And this is what you do with these gaps. Identify which one of these 5 gaps resonates with you and evaluate it as to how you can minimize that gap so that the process between knowing and doing is minimized. If you find yourself in the assumption gap, find disciplines that help you minimize your assumptions. If you find yourself in the knowledge gap, just simplify it. Don't overcomplicate the information that you have. Break it down in chunks and sizes that you can chew on one day at a time. If you're in the mistake gap, don't be so hard on yourself. Mistakes happen. Accept it, move on, and try again. And lastly, if you find yourself in the inspiration gap, don't wait till the motivation comes in order for you to take action. Take action and the motivation will come. That's it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and be sure to turn on the notifications so you can be notified when the next video drops. Until then, peace out.